Did you know that every 9 seconds, someone in America develops signs of cognitive decline, and for many, the cause isn't age or even genetics, but something as simple as what they eat for breakfast? Every morning, millions of older adults start their day with a sweet cup of coffee and a piece of white bread or a soft donut. It feels innocent, comforting, even the same routine they've followed for decades. But inside the brain, that harmless breakfast sets off a quiet storm. Blood sugar spikes, blood vessels tighten, and within minutes, the brain begins to run on fumes. The result? That familiar fog, the one where names slip away. Focus fades, and the day starts feeling heavier than it should. Scientists call it post-meal hypoglycemia, but you know it simply as that mid-morning crash when your mind slows down, your eyelids grow heavy, and you wonder why even a strong cup of coffee doesn't help anymore. The truth is, it's not your age, it's not fatigue, it's the refined carbs that are quietly starving your brain of oxygen and balance every single day. Today, we're going to expose everyday foods, the so-called healthy carbs that may actually be shutting down your brain's most vital functions. You'll learn what they do inside your body, how they damage your neurons, and more importantly, how to replace them with foods that rebuild clarity, focus, and memory. And if you've ever found yourself staring at the TV, forgetting what you wanted to say, or feeling that sudden mental fog after breakfast, then this video might just be the most important one you'll see all week. Stay with me until the end, and you'll walk away not just knowing what to avoid, but how to eat in a way that makes your brain feel 20 years younger again. If you know someone over 60 who's been complaining about memory lapses or morning fatigue, share this video with them. Sometimes, a single meal can change how the brain works, and it starts with knowing what not to eat. As we get older, our brains become more sensitive to changes in blood sugar, much more than most people realize. The neurons that once handled sudden glucose surges with ease now respond sluggishly. Think of it like an electrical grid that flickers when too much power rushes through the wires. When you eat refined carbs, white bread, pastries, sugary cereals, they break down almost instantly into glucose. Your blood sugar spikes. Insulin rushes in to clean it up, and within an hour or two, that sugar crash hits hard. The brain, which depends on a steady flow of energy, suddenly runs low. It's not getting enough fuel, and the result is that hazy, heavy feeling many call brain fog. But there's more happening beneath the surface. Repeated glucose spikes trigger inflammation and oxidative stress in the brain, the same kind of cellular wear that slowly damages small blood vessels and weakens memory centers like the hippocampus. Over time, this constant roller coaster of sugar highs and lows exhausts the cells responsible for focus, recall, and even mood stability. That's why many adults over 60 describe a strange rhythm to their days. Morning starts strong, but by mid-morning, they feel slower, forgetful, or emotionally flat. Some even think they're developing dementia, when in fact, their neurons are just tired running on erratic energy from the wrong kind of carbohydrates. And here's the twist. It's not just the sugar you can taste. Even foods that don't taste sweet white rice, pasta, crackers can flood the bloodstream with glucose just as fast as candy. They're what researchers call stealth carbs, and they're just as capable of shrinking your brain's energy supply. So before we talk about the specific foods that speed up this process, here's one key truth to remember. Your brain doesn't need more sugar to think clearly. It needs stability, stable energy, stable blood flow, stable signals. Let's start with one of the biggest culprits hiding in plain sight. The one that most people believe is the ultimate breakfast comfort food. Number 1. White bread. There's something nostalgic about white bread. Soft, warm, easy to chew. It's been a breakfast staple for decades, especially for older adults who want something light on the stomach. But here's the hidden cost of that comfort. White bread gives your brain a rush of energy it can't handle and then takes it all away. When you eat a slice of white bread, it breaks down almost immediately into glucose. Within minutes, your blood sugar spikes. The brain, flooded with fuel, reacts by speeding up briefly. That's why you might feel a momentary lift, even a sense of alertness. But the brain doesn't store sugar well. Once insulin steps in to pull that glucose back down, your neurons are left hungry again. That sudden energy crash is what scientists call reactive hypoglycemia, and it leaves the brain foggy, sluggish, and easily fatigued. A 2020 Harvard study found that adults who consumed more than 3 slices of refined white bread per day were 28% more likely to experience early cognitive decline than those who replaced it with whole grains. Researchers observed that the loss of fiber and natural minerals in refined flour caused erratic blood flow to the brain's memory centers, making it harder to process and retain information. And that's not all. White bread also robs your muscles of the steady energy they need for movement. So if you've ever felt weak or dizzy halfway through a morning walk, your breakfast toast may be part of the problem. The solution doesn't mean giving up bread entirely. It means choosing a version that works with your body, not against it. Whole grain or sprouted grain bread contains fiber that slows digestion, providing a gradual release of glucose, steady fuel for your brain cells. Pair it with healthy fats like almond butter or avocado, and you've just turned a brain-draining food into a brain-building one. Your breakfast doesn't need to be fancy. It just needs to be smarter. And once you experience that clean, lasting focus after a steady meal, you'll never go back to the white stuff again. Next, let's talk about the healthy-looking cereal boxes that many seniors trust, the ones that promise energy but deliver confusion instead. Number 2, sugary cereals. They come in bright boxes full of cheerful colors and big promises, energizing, heart-healthy, fortified with vitamins. But beneath the marketing shine, most sugary cereals are nothing more than finely ground carbs coated in sugar. They're designed to give you a fast jolt, not sustained clarity. Here's what actually happens. The moment those crunchy flakes hit your tongue, enzymes in your saliva begin breaking them down into simple sugars. Within 15 minutes, your blood sugar spikes just as sharply as if you'd eaten a candy bar. Your brain gets an instant rush, followed by a predictable crash, the same one that makes you feel sleepy, irritable, or out of it by mid-morning. A 2019 study from the University of Bath found that adults over 60 who consumed high glycemic breakfast cereals had 40% slower reaction times and significantly reduced working memory within 2 hours of eating. In simple terms, those healthy cereals were draining mental performance before lunchtime even arrived. And there's another trap. The illusion of nutrition. Many cereals are enriched with synthetic vitamins, which gives the impression of health. But without real fiber, protein, or natural fats, your body can't actually use those nutrients efficiently. Instead of fueling your brain, you're just feeding the blood sugar roller coaster. If you love cereal, you don't have to give it up. Just upgrade it. Swap the sugary brands for old-fashioned oats or steel-cut oatmeal. Top it with a handful of berries for antioxidants and a sprinkle of cinnamon to naturally balance blood sugar. That combination gives your brain the slow, steady glucose. It thrives on the kind that sustains concentration and memory throughout the morning. Think of it like changing the fuel for your car. Sugary cereal is like pouring lighter fluid into the tank. It burns fast and leaves nothing behind. Oats, on the other hand, are like clean-burning fuel, steady, lasting, and good for the long run. And speaking of sweet starts, our next breakfast villain looks innocent enough, soft, flaky, often served warm. But behind that comforting aroma lies a dangerous mix that clogs the brain's lifelines faster than you'd ever imagine. Number 3, pastries and donuts. There's no denying that the smell of freshly baked pastries in the morning is one of life's small pleasures. That buttery, sweet aroma feels comforting, familiar, maybe even deserved after a long week. But what your brain experiences after that first bite is the complete opposite of comfort. Pastries and donuts are built from a harmful trio: refined flour, sugar, and trans fat. This combination doesn't just add calories, It launches an inflammatory response that constricts blood vessels, including those in the brain. Within hours of eating, blood flow to critical regions like the prefrontal cortex, responsible for focus and decision-making, can drop, leaving you feeling slow, foggy, and unfocused. A study from the University of Toronto, 2021, discovered that participants who consumed pastries high in hydrogenated oils had a 20% reduction in cerebral blood flow within 3 hours compared to those who ate whole grain alternatives. The researchers warned that long-term intake of trans fats could stiffen arteries in the brain, increasing the risk of both memory decline and small vessel strokes. And that's not the only problem. The refined carbs in pastries trigger a surge in serotonin, the feel-good hormone giving you a temporary lift. But once the sugar wears off, serotonin drops below baseline, which is why so many people report feeling irritable or mentally flat after a sweet breakfast. If you still crave something satisfying with your morning coffee, there's a better path. Try Greek yogurt with honey and walnuts, or a baked oatmeal cup made with banana for natural sweetness. These options provide protein, fiber, and healthy fats, the nutrients your brain actually needs to stay alert and emotionally balanced. Think of pastries and donuts as the beautiful imposters of breakfast, tempting on the outside, but quietly sabotaging you from within. The next time you see that golden tray at the bakery, remember, a few minutes of pleasure aren't worth hours of mental fog. Now, let's move from the bakery to the dining table because another everyday staple, one that shows up in almost every lunch or dinner, may be silently draining the oxygen your brain cells depend on most. Number 4. White rice. For many people, rice is more than just food. It's comfort, tradition, and routine. Especially in older adults, it's the go-to base for every meal, light, familiar, and easy to digest. But when it comes to brain health after 60, that familiar white bowl can quietly do more harm than good. White rice is stripped of its fiber, vitamins, and natural oils, leaving behind mostly starch that turns into glucose almost as fast as table sugar. Once digested, it sends blood sugar soaring, then crashing, creating sharp ups and downs that the brain struggles to manage. This sudden wave of glucose floods tiny cerebral vessels, stressing their walls and increasing oxidative damage to the neurons they feed. Over time, this constant stress can dull focus and memory, much like rust spreading across a once shiny surface. Researchers from the Singapore Chinese Health Study, 2018, found that adults who consumed large amounts of refined white rice were 4 times more likely to experience cognitive impairment later in life compared to those who replaced part of it with whole grains. The link was clear. Blood sugar spikes were accelerating the aging of the brain's microvessels. You don't have to give up rice altogether. What matters is balance. Try mixing your usual serving with brown rice, quinoa, or barley. These grains digest slowly, giving your brain a steady stream of energy rather than a flood. A small drizzle of olive oil or a sprinkle of sesame seeds also helps moderate absorption, keeping your blood sugar steady and your mind sharp. And if you often feel sleepy or unfocused after lunch, it might not be old age. It's your brain asking for smoother fuel. Replacing just half your white rice with whole grain alternatives can keep your neurons alert well into the afternoon and help your memory last well into the years ahead. Next, we'll talk about another comfort food that seems harmless. A warm plate of pasta, but it may be stirring inflammation in your brain every time you eat it. Number 5, refined flour pasta. There's a reason pasta dinners are so comforting. Soft noodles, rich sauces, the warmth that feels like a hug at the end of the day. But if you're still eating traditional white pasta made from refined flour, your brain might be paying the price for that comfort more than you realize. Here's the science made simple. Pasta made from refined wheat has had nearly all of its fiber and nutrients removed. What it's left digests almost instantly, sending your blood sugar and insulin levels skyrocketing. That insulin surge doesn't just affect your waistline, It changes the way blood moves through your brain. When insulin rises too high, it signals blood vessels to constrict, reducing oxygen flow to brain cells. The result? Slower thinking, reduced alertness, and a kind of mental heaviness that lingers long after the meal. Over time, frequent insulin spikes cause low-grade inflammation in the brain's small vessels, a process that researchers from Tufts University, 2020, called metabolic inflammation. They found that older adults who ate large portions of refined pasta at least 4 times per week had a 30% higher risk of memory decline compared to those who chose whole grain or legume-based options. That doesn't mean pasta is off limits. It just needs a smarter approach. Look for versions made from lentils, chickpeas, or whole wheat, all of which contain fiber and protein that slow down digestion and keep blood sugar stable. You can even add a drizzle of olive oil or toss in leafy greens to further balance the meal. And here's a trick. Try eating a small green salad before your pasta. Studies show that fiber and plant compounds in greens help buffer the glucose response, giving your brain a steady, calm energy instead of a spike and crash. Your brain loves carbs. It just doesn't love empty ones. When you give it complex carbs with fiber and nutrients, you're not depriving yourself. You're upgrading your brain's fuel system. Next, well, look at something even sneakier, a habit millions of older adults rely on to wake up their brain, but one that's actually making it harder to think clearly: sugary drinks and sodas. Number 6. Sugary drinks and sodas. It's a familiar ritual, a can of soda after lunch, or a bottle of energy drink to fight off the afternoon slump. The cold fizz, the sweetness, the quick jolt of alertness feels like instant revival. But for your brain, that short-lived burst is more like a storm that leaves everything quieter afterward. Sugary beverages are among the fastest ways to overwhelm your brain's delicate chemistry. Within minutes of drinking, glucose levels in your blood can spike higher than with almost any solid food. Your body responds by flooding itself with insulin to clean up the excess sugar, and the brain, suddenly deprived of that rush, experiences a rapid energy dip. That's why so many older adults report feeling foggy or drowsy an hour or 2 after a sweet drink. Even worse, that constant sugar rush rewires your brain's dopamine system, the same network responsible for motivation and focus. Scientists from Yale University, 2019, found that people who regularly consumed high-sugar drinks had lower dopamine receptor sensitivity, meaning they needed more sugar just to feel the same level of alertness. Over time, that cycle leads to dependence, fatigue, and slower cognitive processing. And energy drinks? They often make things worse. Many contain 200 to 300 milligrams of caffeine, more than 2 cups of coffee, combined with high-fructose corn syrup. This cocktail forces your blood vessels to constrict, while your heart races to keep up, leaving the brain with reduced oxygen and unstable signaling. The fix isn't complicated, but it does take awareness. Replace those sugary beverages with green tea, warm lemon water, or even infused water with mint or cucumber. These drinks hydrate the brain, support blood flow, and provide gentle stimulation through compounds like L-theanine, which promotes calm alertness rather than jittery highs and lows. If you're craving fizz, carbonated water with a splash of citrus can satisfy the habit without harming your focus. Remember, the goal is to eliminate pleasure. It's to choose energy that lasts. Because every time you swap a soda for something clean, you're not just cutting sugar, you're reclaiming the clarity your brain deserves. Most people believe memory loss comes with age, but as you've just seen, much of it begins at the breakfast table. Every bite of white bread, every sip of soda, every healthy bowl of sugary cereal quietly shapes the way your brain feels and functions. It's not just food, it's chemistry, it's circulation, it's oxygen, and when you learn to feed your brain the right way, the changes can be astonishing. Your neurons don't stop working because you're getting older. They slow down because they're undernourished, overstimulated, and constantly forced to recover from sugar highs and crashes. Once you replace those refined carbs with real food, whole grains, nuts, fish, and fruits with fiber, your brain finally gets the stability it's been missing. You'll notice mornings feel clearer, your focus steadier, and that mental fog that once felt inevitable begins to fade. Think about it. Your brain never truly rests. Even as you sit here listening, it's using up to 20% of all the energy in your body. So doesn't it make sense to give it the kind of fuel that lasts, not the kind that burns out before noon? Tomorrow morning, start small. Swap your white toast for oatmeal, your sugary drink for green tea, or your sweet pastry for Greek yogurt with berries. These aren't diet changes. They're investments in clarity, independence, and longevity. Because after 60, brain health isn't just about remembering more, it's about living more. Every smarter choice keeps your blood flowing, your neurons communicating, and your confidence growing. So take a deep breath, look at your pantry, and make one small change today. Your brain will thank you not just tomorrow, but every day that you keep it alive, focused, and strong. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Every week, we explore simple, science-backed ways to rebuild strength, protect your mind, and keep your best years still ahead of you.